Alright, so here is the knife all finished up, and we'll start with the show side scale. I am very pleased with how the bolster and the scale lined up. I made sure with the CNC to get very, very sharp and clean lines. I really took my time with this because I did not want a gap, because ultimately it would look like garbage, and I don't like making garbage. So originally I was going to make just a whole brand new scale, which is doable, but I was talking with the customer, and since it's so thin, let me get this in focus. So since it's so thin up here at the top, and I'll show you underneath, get right here at the top, it's very thin, and Gicarda tends to be very soft the thinner you make it, so I just didn't want to risk this breaking over time. So I had the idea to create basically an integrated bolster out of the original G10 scales. Luckily they were G10 because it does add strength, and the customer liked this look, so this is what we went with, and I'm glad he went with that because, again, you still have the strength of the black G10 here. It's less likely to break. Basically, the strength is what I was looking for, but you still get the Gicarda on top, which really adds that cool factor. And I think this looks a lot better than just one piece of Gicarda. And the customer was very pleased, so I'm just happy that it turned out very, very well. And as you guys can see down here at the bottom, there is a little bit of that G10 popping through. Now I had to do it this way because of the way this thing was epoxied on, and the bevel on the bottom of this, or the original scale, sorry, I had to go that deep in order to match the bevel, but I was able to match it here in the thumb or finger groove and just have a consistent flow, and it took quite a bit of time to get it nice and straight and as perfect as I could get it. I will show you guys the pocket clip side, and it's just as good, nice and tight and straight, no gap. And then I went ahead and used the CNC with the milling bit to just go in there nice and clean and get a very tight fitting recessed area for the pocket clip. So really pleased with that as well. And then even the G10 got a little bit of a finer finish, so it exposes those really cool layers of the black G10. And really quick before I assemble it, I just wanted to talk about the interesting integral design. This is basically just one piece of metal that's folded over. It works very, very well. I definitely need to pick up one of these knives, but even the barrel spacer here in the back was designed to fit through this bigger hole. It stops through there. Basically, the larger bottom end of the barrel spacer keeps it from going all the way through, and then it slides in. Really genius design, but a very simple design, which I really, really like. Simple designs. It's not a lot going on with this design, which I am a big fan of. Another thing I wanted to show you guys was the insanely thin bearings. Now I know CRKT has a few thin bearings, but these ones are just crazy thin. I forgot to measure them, but I don't have the tool up here, but you can see very small ball bearings and then just a very thin plastic casing to hold them in. But like I said, these are surprisingly well, and the action on this knife is very, very good. So enough talking about it. Let's put it together and see what it looks like. Here it is all assembled, and one thing I really do like about the Gicarda is that it really, really pops, or has a really nice contrast against all the black, and even the gold axis lock and thumb studs is a nice touch because it does highlight those little oranges and yellows in there. And you do have a nice, I believe the term is called shadow boxing, so you have the scale that's a little bit smaller than the liners themselves, which really just gives it another layer of depth, which I think looks really, really good. One thing I wanted to do with this hardware was to actually countersink it, but unfortunately, as you can see right there, very, very limited on space, so I didn't want to risk ruining the G-Karta. So it's not even bothersome. That's how it was originally on the original scale, so it's really not even an issue in hand. And then, as you can see, that CNC really made that pocket nice and recessed for the pocket clip. So very pleased with that. And for as thin as those bearings are, this knife is very, very smooth and snappy. And like I said, this knife surprised me. It wasn't even on my radar, but I'm just glad that the customer, Eric, shout out to Eric for sending both knives in. I'll show you the other one in just a moment, but for getting this customized, because I probably wouldn't have even considered getting one of these, but now that I have this in hand and I had a couple days with it, it convinced me. It's really, really well made. And again, for that integral one piece folded over, it's surprisingly nice. And it's even centered, which is pretty amazing if you ask me, because typically if you fold stuff over, stuff doesn't line up, but Real Steel knows what they're doing. So yeah, awesome knife. This is one I would actually recommend. But yeah, there is the custom Real Steel. I don't know how to say the name. Sacra. But anyways, here is the other knife that I did for Eric. So yeah, this is something he put on. I'm not a fan of lanyards, but to each their own. I'm not bashing on people who have lanyards, just not my thing. But he wanted the same material on the Thug 2. Really pleased with how this came out. I gave it a little bit of a rough finish. I just think it looks a little bit cooler when it's rough and beat up. But the oils from his hands eventually will darken it and really make those colors pop. He also added one of the titanium milled pocket clips. You can get these on Amazon. I'll leave a link down below if you guys are interested in these. So far, from all the knives, or the Civivi knives that I've put these pocket clips on, they work great. And they give you extra hardware, longer or shorter, for the knife. So just a really, really great buy. I think they're 12 bucks or something like that, but I think they're well worth it. I love the Thug 2. Just a great knife. I didn't record customizing this. I already have a video on one of these, and I'll leave a link up here in the corner where you guys can check it out if you guys haven't seen it already, but I did it in a different G-Karta material. And one thing I do like that I did for the scales on this is I left them just a little bit bigger than the liners, and I actually gave them I call it a double bevel. So the inside of the scale is beveled slightly, and then the outside is beveled as well. I just think it gives it a really cool look to it. As you can see right there, a slight bevel on the inside, and then a little more aggressive on the outside. But I did make sure to do the finger grooves just a little bit bigger. You see here on the show side scale, just a little bit bigger so you have easier access to the thumb studs. So you can use your thumb and spidey flick it, no problem. I think I mentioned it in another video, but you have to create a little stop pin underneath the pivot pin. It kind of locks it in and keeps it from free spinning. But I'll put a picture up here. You can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I just used a little piece of white G10. I made it the diameter that I needed to make it, and then I just super glued it in, which allows this pin to lock in. It'd be nice if Civivi didn't do that, but I found a way to work around it. But really, really happy with both of these knives. And let me know down below what you guys think of how these turned out. Again, the customer is very happy with these. But as always, you guys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate the support. And I will see you guys on the next one.